Hello, welcome to the 15th Busiversary of the Flying Focus Video Bus. I'm PC Peri, a member of the Flying Focus Video Collective, the organization that's been around since the massacre in the Middle East in 1991. We've been voicing the voiceless and covering issues of political policy locally, nationally, and internationally.
And it's very exciting. We've been 15 years in the same time slot on Portland Community Media, and we're doing special celebration around our 15th anniversary, and we're looking back at the shows that we did around all these different subjects we cover, like animal rights, economic environmental justice, war and peace, and possibly 12 or more different countries that our members have gone to and brought back videotape, as well as 22 or more other countries that we talked about, plus national and local issues, as you mentioned, here in Portland and America. So let's take a look at some clips from some of the 600 shows that we've done since 1991.
As of 2006, Flying Focus Video Collective has been producing video as a tool for social change for 15 years. We produced one short series as a committee of the Peace Coalition when we formed in January 1991 during the so-called Gulf War, and a second one in the summer of 1991 after we adopted our name. Our weekly half-hour showcase, the Flying Focus Video Bus, premiered on November 18, 1991. The showcase of finished works and works in progress has featured conferences, forums, demonstrations, street theater, speeches, and interviews in the field, as well as in the studio. Our first episode, Video Politique, featured segments on nuclear testing, affordable housing, and a protest against General Colin Powell, which was a good introduction to the wide spectrum of our interests. Since then, we have covered topics including animal rights, civil rights,
police officers, jails, boot camps, education, training, deployment overtime,
police accountability, workers or labor issues, the death penalty, economic justice, environmental justice, feminist issues, healthcare alternatives, indigenous peoples, media and communications, multicultural issues, nuclear issues, organizing for change, sexual orientation, systems of government, urban concerns, war and peace, and foreign affairs. Regarding foreign affairs, Flying Focus volunteers have visited over a dozen countries with camcorders and brought back footage. Those countries include Brazil, Bosnia, Canada, Croatia, Cuba, England, Iraq, Italy, Peru, Serbia, Sierra Leone, and Spain. In addition, we've covered issues in at least 20 other nations, including Afghanistan, Burma, East Timor, El Salvador, Haiti, Indonesia, Iran, Ireland.
That the absence of war does not mean that there's peace. Peace needs everyone to sit down to discuss rationally the problems which confront us.
Israel and Palestine, Japan, Kenya, Mexico, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Panama, South Africa, Tibet, and Vietnam. We've distributed our shows in lending libraries around Portland and for cablecast into libraries in Seattle, St. Louis, New York, Philadelphia, Columbus, Ohio, Chicago, and many other cities. Our show has had forward-thinking luminaries such as Howard Zinn.
If you're supposedly neutral, not taking a stand and so on, what you're really doing is you're collaborating with the world the way it is.
Marian Wright Edelman, Michael Parenti, Christian Parenti, Amy Goodman, Norman Solomon, Medea Benjamin, Daniel Ellsberg, Ramona Africa.
Move is revolutionary, but we don't believe in violence. We are revolutionaries because we love our sisters and brothers.
Patch Adams, Phyllis Bennis, Marshall Rosenberg, Julia Butterfly Hill, video pioneer Dee Halleck, mad cowboy Howard Lyman, death penalty opponent Sister Helen Prejean, and civil rights icon Representative John Lewis.
It may sound strange for politicians or elected officials to talk about love. But we need to tell, it's better to love than to hate.
We have also featured speakers who left the world too soon, including former Black Panther and police accountability activist Michael Zinzin, who died in 2006, prisoners' rights activist Carl Upchurch, environmental activist Judy Barry.
How do you organize timber workers? How do you organize loggers? How do you get loggers to talk to earth firsters? And the first answer is you have to like loggers. That's the first thing. And I already did, because, you know, having been a blue-collar worker my whole adult life, the conditions of my life are actually more similar to them than to the privileged environmentalists in the city.
Filmmaker Marlon Riggs, civil rights activist turned environmentalist Eldridge Cleaver, and nonviolence icon Philip Berrigan. We've done some unconventional posthumous remembrances, including ones for Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy, and Jesus Christ and Superman. Making brief appearances for various reasons have been Portland Mayor Vera Katz, Cuban President Fidel Castro, and former Oregon Senator Bob Packwood, and all that was just in 1 year. We've also presented Nobel Prize nominee Kathy Kelly, former Portland City Council member Gretchen Kafori, State Representative Mitch Greenlick, Representatives Earl Blumenauer and Elizabeth First.
We're spending 1/2 of our discretionary budget on weapons of mass destruction and on the military. 1/2. And why are we doing it? Because it's great business if you can be in it.
Senator Mark Hatfield and filmmaker Michael Moore in short segments on the video bus. We have covered the local work of many groups working in Oregon and Southwest Washington, including PECUN, the Tree Planters and Farm Workers Union, Walking Advocates, the Willamette Pedestrian Coalition, Portland's Permanent Community for Homeless Individuals, Dignity Village, Peace and Justice Works, Oregon Peace Institute, and local chapters of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Pax Christi, American Friends Service Committee, the War Resisters League, and Amnesty International. In addition to the nearly 500 original half hours we've done on the video bus, Flying Focus has also produced over 100 speakers and events programs, plus 26 hours from the Z Media Institute, which featured popular lecture circuit favorites such as Barbara Ehrenreich, Noam Chomsky, Jim Hightower, and other conferences, forums, and rallies that were just too big to fit on the video bus. We're not all just talking heads and walking figures. We've also featured music on the show from past and current local favorites Samuelson and Tomasi,
There must be a better way. This must be the place to start.
and Alchemy,
Give me pure living water, only one celestial being. Give me love to make my true heart beat.
and Simmons Rose,
That all the world agreed to put an end to war.
to more national acts like Wavy Gravy,
And wouldn't it be fine now if all humankind had shelter?
Neil Young, and even a few of our own producers take a turn at singing once in a while.
From the top of the grass to the middle of the earth.
How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Thanks for watching Flying Focus these past 15 years, and we hope to be able to keep bringing you the same quality and variety of information for many more years to come.
Do you think freedom of speech should be limited?
No.
So that was a little look back at the past 14 years, and now we're going to look back at this past year, which was from November of 2005 until October of 2006, and the shows that we produced this past year. We did 23 new episodes of the Video Bus, a total of 17 shows, because some of them were 2 parts over the different weeks. And normally you don't get to see us on camera because we're behind the camera, but that's why we do the Busiversary, so you can see what we look like. So PC, what did you do this year?
This year I taped some, supported other people while they were taping, coached others while they learned how to tape, and we covered, about 8 shows?
At least.
And we would like to have you join us. Get in touch with us at 503 239-7456 or 321-5051. Join us in not watching TV, but making TV. Hi, we're here with Barb, and we're talking about a piece that she edited and I taped, and it's about Amnesty's International, which one?
It's a workshop at an Amnesty International conference held here in Portland, where members of the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender community are talking about severe instances of police abuse where they target this community.
And this is something that is remembering Stonewalled, but is still going on.
Right, unfortunately so.
Okay, let's take a look.
Okay.
Ours was in California in May 2003, and it says, a self-described multiracial lesbian said that after police arrived at their home in response to an altercation involving her white partner and a contractor on their property, the police physically abused her. Although the situation was calm, the moment she told an officer that she needed to go and help her lover who was sick, the officer suddenly grabbed her arm forcefully from behind, forcing her arm straight back and twisting it up at the wrist, wrenching her arm as if it was going to be pulled out of the socket. When the woman attempted to break free, she was thrown to the ground and reportedly held in a chokehold. One of the officers forced down her pants and exposed her buttocks, while one of the officers also kicked her in the back, and two others hit her on the side of the face so that her head hit the pavement. She couldn't breathe, began to black out, and that she went into convulsions.
There is so much anger in the communities because there's been no dialogue about these types of treatment. They can't trust the cops. I don't blame them. And my final thing is, one of the other things I did is I led a group of Latina transgender women, 30, in front of Los Angeles Police Department, Hollywood Wilcox Police Station, in a rally tour, where they walked back and forth in front of that police station. I guided them on how to do this so they wouldn't get arrested, and they shouted, respect, respect us. So that's really my message.
We're here with Barb, and we're looking at footage that I taped, Susan Bloom taped, at Looking Glass Bookstore and In Other Words Bookstore. And this is about what, Barb?
This is Judith Arcana, a very interesting woman, reading her poetry. She's an ardent women's advocate going back to before Roe versus Wade went into effect, when she worked as a Jane at a women's collective in Chicago, giving abortions to women who needed them.
Even though they were illegal,
they had to be done.
They changed the way things are done now.
Exactly.
Let's see how it looks.
Yeah.
Every week we went to a meeting, but not like now. No one stood up and said, my name is Jane and I'm an abortionist. No, because we didn't want to stop. We weren't trying not to do it. We sat in apartments, passing the cards. One card is Sandy from West Lafayette, 18 years old, coming in on the bus. She's got about $63, she thinks. She's 9 weeks pregnant. The next card is Terrell, who's 32 and angry. Her doctor gave her an IUD that didn't work. He says there's nothing he can do. Here's Mona, 54 years old, has $100, wants to keep this secret from her family. And Carly, a long-term, 20 weeks pregnant, may have $10. 12 years old, like Mona's youngest. She got herpes from her brother when he did it. Every week, some of the cards were passed around for hours. None of us wanted to counsel those women, take one into her life. The longest of long terms. They lived far away, had no one but us, no one to tell, no one to help, no money. They needed everything. Cards went around the room while we talked. Dilations, syringes, xylocaine, the Saturday list. At the end of the meeting, all of the cards were taken.
Barb did the editing. Adam did the taping of Two Latina at PSU. And what was that coverage about?
This one's about a woman, this is a woman from, who's working in Mexico with the indigenous people there.
Chiapas?
I believe so. And a woman from Chicago who's helping her with her tour and it organizes for Latino people here in the United States, talking about the really awful effects of globalization on the people of Mexico and how their land's being taken away from them. And it's really interesting. It's things that people up here don't know about.
The Zapatista movement is, again, that awakening, that hello, you know, from what they call Pachamama, Mother Earth, to look at all these different things that are happening and really start voicing out or taking some type of action, because if not, we're just going to see our world dissolving into nothing, because we're not going to have anything to practically live. I mean, we only have one planet. And in order for each and every one of us to live comfortably like those few rich people, we would need 7 planets. But unfortunately, we don't have 7 planets to live on. We only have one planet, and we need to preserve that planet. And to understand that cooperatives like the Mujeres por la Dignidad, who've been able to take the stuff up here that you see is stuff that they produce themselves and sell and market and get out on the international market through solidarity groups like ourselves. I mean, we do not depend on the government. Here we are showing the government that we don't need for you to take this much profit or tell us how much to value our work, but we know how much our work is valuable. And promote an alternative economy where there are fair prices, where the money goes back to where it really belongs to. So this is the work that they do.
So we've watched 2 clips about women, and now we're going to switch to environmental issues. Barb and I went to the Greener Homes and Garden show. I taped it. Barb did an excellent job in editing. What was that about?
In this one, we interviewed people who are working to help the environment, and there was a lot of information in there about what people can do themselves at home with their vehicles, just a lot of different things that people can do to reduce global warming and help the environment.
Alternatives to what we've been used to.
Exactly. Things people might not think about.
Let's see what they did.
Okay.
Biodiesel will work in any diesel engine. There's 3 considerations for using biodiesel: cleaning effect, compatibility with rubber, and cold flow. And so basically, if you have an older diesel vehicle that's been running petrol diesel for a long time, you might need to switch out a fuel filter depending on how much sediment and sludge is built up in the fuel system, because biodiesel will clean all that sediment and sludge out, flush it into the fuel filter. You may need to replace it a couple times. Once it's clean, you're fine. Most vehicles manufactured after 1993 use the right type of rubber that's resistant to biodiesel, but you should always check to make sure that there's no natural rubber in your fuel system, because that will degrade over time when it comes into contact with biodiesel.
We basically work with the client to find the most sustainable solution to their remodeling conundrum, if you will. So we start from the design all the way to the finishes. Obviously, with the painting company, we have our fingers on the most environmentally sustainable products available and the most environmentally sustainable ways to do all of these things. We start out with like salvage lumber. This cabinet door is made out of a board from a maraschino cherry vat. You know, so we source things like that, and we just reuse as much from within the building as we possibly can, and then we work with the client to source the best possible, lowest impact building materials we can.
We're back with Adam now, member of Flying Focus Video Collective, and let's talk to Adam and see what shows he did this year. What did you cover?
Well, this is my 3rd year producing shows for Flying Focus, and the first clip I want to show is an environmental related show. It's lecturer Richard Louv, who's a columnist with the San Diego Union Tribune, and he wrote a recent book called Last Child in the Woods, Nature Deficit Disorder, which goes into basically the cell phone generation, symptoms being obliviousness, alienation from nature. He discourages addiction to media devices, electronic devices, and more communion with nature. So let's take a look at the clip.
If you add all of that up, you come to the conclusion that playing outdoors is illegal, perhaps, and it's not illicit. Early on in the book tour, the first book tour, a woman came up to me and said that her community association had recently outlawed chalk drawing on the sidewalks, which, you know, leads to cocaine. I mean, just try to put up a basketball hoop in some of these communities, let alone let the kids build a tree house. My own neighborhood, you know, I didn't read the fine print. You know, we moved in there thinking, I was thinking it's going to be next to a lake. There are eucalyptus canyons here. It's kind of like where I grew up. And my own community association goes through those canyons and tears down tree houses. But for these kids, my profession, once again, as well as environmental groups, as well as many academics, are essentially giving those teenagers this message about the environment. It's too late. Game's over. We hear that message between the lines over and over and over again. And then we wonder why they don't want to suit up for the game if it's over. We wonder why they withdraw into their electronic world.
This is a piece we worked on together. I taped it, Adam did the editing, and it's on Agent Orange in Vietnam. Tell us more about it, Adam.
Well, this was a lecture of a few speakers, some victims of Agent Orange during the war, and we're going to see one clip of Ho Si Hai, it's the name of one of the victims. Another clip will be the former head of the Vietnamese Red Cross talking about the effects of dioxin on Agent Orange, and also an ongoing lawsuit against companies like Dow and Monsanto who did some of the manufacturing. So let's take a look at the clip.
Great.
Và những nạn nhân trên thế giới, những ai đã mắc phải cái căn bệnh da cam thì đều cùng một nguyện vọng là phải đấu tranh cho hòa bình.
It is my hope, and it's not only my hope, it's the hope of victims of Agent Orange in Vietnam, that we will have your understanding, the understanding of the reality in Vietnam, the problems, the suffering that we have been through and been enduring. And I also hope that victims of Agent Orange in Vietnam will unite with victims of Agent Orange in the world to fight for peace, so that we won't have to see such things happening again.
Cái chất khai quang diệt cỏ này độc là bởi vì nó chứa tới gần 400 kg dioxin.
Such herbicides or defoliants were toxic or poisonous because they contained about 400 kilograms of dioxin.
Có nhà khoa học tính ra là không phải như vậy mà 500 kg, có người tính tới 1.000 kg dioxin.
But the number varies. Some scientists came up with the number of 500, other 1,000 kilograms of dioxin.
Daniel is here, and we did coverage of him this year, and you were doing coverage of Burma.
This was an interview with Edith Mirante, a well-known human rights activist and author, and she's talking in this clip about the recent history of Burma.
This was a situation where I was on camera in the studio, Pastor Weisner was in the studio also, and we'll have a chance now to look at the clip and see what it looks like.
Burma was completely a war-torn country during the Second World War. Terrible damage to the people there, to the infrastructure of the country. And when it was over, the Japanese were gone, the Americans left, and then even the British granted Burma independence. But these ethnic conflicts were never resolved. And at first there was a democratic government, an elected government in Burma. But then in 1962, because of the continuing ethnic tension, the military took over. They said they were going to just do it for a little while, which is a lesson, I guess, to everybody. It's like, don't believe them when they say it's just going to be a temporary thing, because they are still in power in Burma. First, there was a dictator named General Ne Win, who ruled with a completely iron hand over the country. And in 1988, the country just rose up against him and his armed regime in a peaceful pro-democracy freedom demonstration movement all over the country, very much like what we saw in Tiananmen Square in China, and ruthlessly suppressed. Only in Burma's case, there were no TV cameras on what was going on, so it was very hidden away from the world. It should have been one of these people power revolutions we've seen in so many other places, from the Philippines to Eastern Europe, but instead it was completely thwarted, suppressed, with thousands of people killed.
Thanks for watching part 1 of the 15th Busiversary. If you'd like to support Flying Focus Video Collective or get involved, please give us a call.
At the numbers 503-239-7456 or 503-321-5051. And you can write us on email at ffvc@flyingfocus.org. See us next week, same time, same channel, and we will see you on part 2 at that time. Thank you.